probably been through 5 sets of gear now, trying to figure out what the best stat priority is for Affliction. And most websites have been telling me Mastery, then Intellect, then Haste, then Crit. And I tried it out, it does decent damage, but honestly, Haste is still the way to go. There's a few reasons that you probably already know. 1, you get faster global cooldowns. 2, with your Corruption, you get more soul shards if it ticks faster. 3, it's harder to be interrupted, especially with Dark Soul up. You have a 0.894 second haunt cast that crits up to 27k. It's ridiculous. It's just, haste is the way to go, trust me. So here's what my gear looks like. I have this new belt you can buy from the Prideful vendor. I think it's what the priests had, but now you can buy it as a warlock for some reason. It's called Prideful Gladiator's Court of Meditation, sold at the Prideful vendor. Probably gonna want to pick that up, gives you haste and mastery. Everything else is the same. Boots of Alacrity, Bracers of Prowess, Cloak of Prowess, Neck of Alacrity. Gems, there's one difference. You can get 20 haste as a red gem. You just get a precise gem and it's haste and it's red. For your yellow sockets, you want quick. And for your green sockets, blue sockets, you want shattered. So you're gonna want to get all the socket bonuses just because every socket is actually, or every stat is actually pretty helpful. Haste is still the best. And for enchants, you want to make sure your gloves are haste. Boots, you can keep the mastery and run speed. The run speed is really helpful. Weapon, Power Torrent is actually significantly better than Jade Spirit. Jade Spirit procs and gives you, I think, 83 intellect for 12 seconds. Power Torrent gives you 100 intellect for 12 seconds. It's better in every way. Bracers, you still want the intellect. Cloak, intellect. If you're a tailor, remember to re-enchant your cloak. Helm, you want the intellect and the increased critical effect. It used to be the other way around as Affliction, you want the PvP one. Now you want the crit because haunt crits are insane. For talents, not much has changed at all. Level 15, you want Dark Regen, no question. Level 30, I would never use Howl of Terror. Fear is really crappy now, it breaks on damage. Mortal Coil is really good. I would prefer Shadow Fury unless my team has a couple stuns, then I'll go Mortal Coil. Level 45, you actually want Dark Bargain now as Affliction just because the game is so bursty and Warlocks are actually pretty tanky right now without Soul Link. And it's pretty easy to kill pets, so I would take Bargain for sure, pretty much every game. Level 60, Blood Whore if there's a melee at all. Otherwise, Unbound Will. 75, Grimoire of Sacrifice increases your hump by 20%. That's huge. Drain Soul and Drain Life are also, I guess, helpful. I don't really use Drain Life though in serious arenas. Level 90, Archimonde's Darkness, without a question, always has been. Level 100, I haven't even read them yet, so I don't know. Glyphs, same as before. Unstable Affliction, Eternal Resolve, Siphon Life. If you're dueling, I would take Hellstone over UA. As simple as that. So doing DPS as Affliction has actually changed quite a bit. Some for the better, some for the worse. It's more complicated in some ways and less complicated in others. For example, dot snapshotting is gone. For now, whenever you get a trinket proc, whenever you use Dark Soul or use your trinket, all the dots that you have already applied will start doing more damage. You don't have to refresh them anymore for them to start doing more damage. But what this means is you only get 20 seconds or whatever the duration of your proc is to do that damage. Before you could have your Dark Soul dots going for like a minute. So it's good and bad. You don't have to worry about who has Dark Soul dots and who doesn't. Keep track of all that in your head. But it also dumbs the game down a little bit. But the game is also a little more complicated in some ways, and I'll explain that in a second. There used to be this ability that Warlocks had called Pandemic, and what it said was it allows Warlocks to add any remaining periodic damage effects to the same refreshed effect with a maximum of 50% the base duration. And that sounds kinda confusing, but what it means is you could refresh your dots to an extra 50% of the base duration. So the base duration of corruption is 18 seconds. If pandemic were still a thing, I could add an extra 9 seconds to it by refreshing it. So what they did with pandemic is they took it away from warlocks and they gave it to everyone. And now it's 30% instead of 50%. So basically all of your dots can be refreshed to longer than they say in the base duration. 30% longer. So for Unstable Affliction, I have the exact numbers right here. For Unstable Affliction, it can go up to 18.2 seconds from 14 seconds. And you can never add more than the base duration at a time. It always adds 14 seconds up to a maximum of 18.2 total seconds. For example, I meant to cast Unstable Affliction. For example, Unstable Affliction is a 14-second base duration, right? If I wait until Unstable Affliction is down to 1 second, it will only go to 15. If I refresh it again, it'll go all the way up to 18. So you want to refresh your dots in that window where it won't go to maximum duration, but the dot also hasn't fallen off yet, or else you're wasting your globals. So for Unstable Affliction, you want to refresh it when it's at 4.2 seconds or less. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. If it's a little more than 4.2 seconds, you're fine. For Corruption, you only want to refresh it when it has less than 6 seconds. And for Agony, you only want to refresh it when it has less than 7.2 seconds. This never changes based on your haze. It used to change. Now it's always the same. Dot durations do not change anymore. So, another thing about Pandemic. If you are going to use Soul Swap, because it now costs a Soul Shard, you need to refresh your dots up to maximum duration. If they're already at halfway duration, you are not wasting your globals if you're planning on Soul Swapping. You refresh all your dots, then you Soul Swap. That's not a waste of globals because you're getting full duration with Pandemic on every target you Soul Swap to. If you were not to refresh them to full duration, it would be a waste of 2 Soul Shards. But you really only need to make sure that Unstable Affliction is at its max duration because that's the only one with the cast time. The other 2 you can refresh manually. An add-on that I would highly recommend that isn't working right now is called Plate Buffs. I'm just going to type it out on my screen. Plate Buffs. It's kind of like Tidy Plates, you probably know what that is. And it shows the default Blizzard nameplates with your debuffs on top of them, and you can customize which debuffs you want to show, but I usually just leave it as default. So that's something that will really help you out as Affliction. I highly recommend getting plate buffs. So generally when you get into combat, the first thing you're going to want to cast is Agony, so it starts to stack up. Then Unstable Affliction, and then Corruption. And right after that, you want to start casting Drain Soul, and that'll stack up your Agony to 10 as fast as possible. At that point, your dots are going to be kind of low on duration, about halfway through, maybe a little less than halfway. And if you're planning on soul swapping, you have to refresh them to full duration. If you're not planning on soul swapping, you can either just dot someone else and kill them, or you can just continue to kill your current target. I don't really tend to soul swap right off the bat because Trinket usually procs right away and I don't want to waste my soul shards, and I can't fear people who are dotted, so pretty much just gonna dot the kill target right off the bat. For threes right now, you're gonna want to keep your dots up on everyone if possible. You don't really want to soul swap all that much, so you're gonna have to be manually refreshing them when they get to those few seconds left that I talked about. So I would refresh UA now and go to this target, refresh UA, have to go get Corruption on this guy, and I have to get Corruption on this guy, then I have to get Agony on this guy, then I have to maybe wait a couple seconds, I don't know, put UA on this guy, then refresh Agony on this guy, and then put dots up on this guy, then I have to go over to this guy and refresh UA. Oh, it's too late. So yeah, this is why plate buffs is going to help. And Affliction is still kind of complicated right now. But I don't know, I think it's kind of fun still. Don't be overly concerned about dotting everyone, because most of your kill potential comes from Haunt and not routing the enemy team, because healers can just heal forever right now. I don't know how that's going to be at level 100, but for right now, pretty much just worry about lining up your Haunt spams, because Haunt is crazy. Crazy. You can kill someone with 4 Haunts and no dots. It's actually possible to do that. If you get like 1 crit, it'll kill them. And another cool trick that you might already know is if you use your pet's interrupt, you can sacrifice it and use it again. And it doesn't go on DR. So you can interrupt people for 6 seconds and then again for 6 seconds, and they won't even see it coming, so they're not even going to try to fake cast you. So that's pretty OP. That's how we win a lot of our games. So you're going to have 12 seconds of CC before you even put them on any sort of DR. That's just a cool trick. And I know this trick has been usable since the beginning of MOP, but it's especially OP right now considering you can global people. A lot of people don't even have interrupt trackers, and most healers have to cast more than usual right now, so this trick is especially strong right now. Anyway, I don't really know if I have any more to tell you guys. I don't think I missed anything. Let me know if you have any questions or something you disagree with, and I will read your comments. I read every single comment for now, as long as I can manage them, so take advantage of that. See you next time.